focused on Fleetwood Mac, my roommate's dead, fungus fermentation, another Wonka reboot, JFK's assassination.
It's not my favorite topic, just my brain's current fixation.
Hyperfocus.
Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast. I am your host, Virginia Dickens, and I am joined today by the comedian who won the Comedian's Choice to Best Newcomer Award at Edinburgh Fringe 2024 for his show, The Farewell Tour, the one and only Ian Lockwood.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
I cleared so many meetings to be here. I said, Diane, hold them.
Hold my meetings.
And they were
pissed.
This is
important.
Yeah, I had to be here.
Yes, I appreciate it so much. Usually how I like to start off this podcast, before we get into our hyper focuses, which yours is your health, which we'll get into, yes. And mine is the New York City Housing Lottery, which we will also get into. But before we do that, I like to start off with you talking about your experience being neurodivergent.
Sure, well, I don't talk about it that much because my ADHD is not the most interesting thing about me. I'm gay. I have many, many hobbies and talents, but it is there in the background. I'm not sure if I really talk about it to anybody, but it was definitely all very covered up by me being a really theatery kid. By the way, my plug being the show now is so funny because I've gone from being a comedian to the only thing lower in society, a theater maker. So I now have to really just stand by that. But then things like they do with a lot of people started to unravel a little bit toward the end of college, those early 20s mentally ill years. And yeah, so it was a bit of a journey. I'm very happy with how things are now, and we're coming out of the winter season, which is the toughest for me. We hate. And yeah, ask me about ketamine therapy. I've been loving ketamine
Yeah, you've
therapy.
really pitched ketamine therapy hard to me, and I would love to try it sometime.
I mean,
once I get money for it, I am in.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, it combines my two favorite things, self-care and doing drugs.
Yeah. No, it sounds awesome because you take ketamine and then you sit with a therapist, right? And or you do it at home, and then you talk to them later.
No,
you just do it at home.
Yeah, but there's a lot of journaling involved. It's prescribed. There's
self-reflection
preparation materials.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to watch basically like a TED talk before I do.
It's monitored, kind of.
It's tough to be addicted to drugs, to a drug, if you have to watch a 10-minute TED talk and journal for half an hour before and after.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. There are easier drugs to get addicted to. Don't let the people hear that I like doing it. They're always like, and are you finding yourself craving ketamine or enjoying it? I'm like, no, of course not. What are you talking about?
Yeah. No, I'm healed. I'm good now. Well, do you want to get into your hyper-focus of your health?
Yes, absolutely. So my hyper-focus is, I feel like, one of the less fun ones, because of course I have these little hyper-focuses, little pop culture moments. I'm making the same breakfast every single morning that I've recreated from a cafe. We can talk about that if there's enough time.
What breakfast is it? Just like real quick, I have to know.
It's the breakfast rice from Chez Alex, which is rice, seasoned rice, soft scrambled eggs, scallions, and chili crisp. And
yeah. Oh, you put that on your Instagram. I
put it on my Instagram like every day because I make it every day, but it's really fun. And yeah, there are a bunch of things. Like I could have talked about Bowser for half an hour, absolutely, because I do want to get married to that man. But even before my accident, I'll mention it like that. Even before my accident, I was obsessed with my health. Yes, in a disordered way, not in a limiting eating sort of way. But so much of my time is spent thinking about my health, researching things. And I feel like this is probably something that your audience can identify with. Most recently, and what I've been talking about a lot, is I was recently in a terrible ski accident where I broke 4 bones and tore my ACL a little bit, 2 bones in the leg. I fractured one of my vertebrae, and I fractured my pinky knuckle. So I've been in a lot of therapy for that. I was bedridden for like 2 months. Basically what happened is I am actually a very good skier, but I slipped at the very top of an extremely icy run that was so icy that instead of ever coming to a stop, I just slid 100 yards and then went off the side of the run into a ravine.
That's so terrifying.
It was scary, and it was long.
Yeah, so what were you thinking that whole time?
I was trying to at first I was like, oh man, I fell. When am I going to come to a stop? Because I've fallen skiing plenty of times, but usually there's snow.
And not just pure ice.
Yeah, so I just was like, when am I going to And then I looked behind me, I realized I was picking up speed, and I went, oop, and I started to try to grab the glacier. And I just kept sliding. And then I came to in a ditch. I didn't black out. I was conscious the whole time. And everyone was really, really worried about that. They were like, did you lose consciousness? Did you hit your head? Can you feel your toes? And can you wiggle them? As soon as I said I could wiggle my toes, they all went, okay, girl, you're going to be okay. Tone-wise, it was going to be dark for them if I couldn't wiggle my toes. So I'm glad I could do that for them.
Because that would show.
Well, I was definitely
damage.
already sure that my back was broken. And so if I couldn't wiggle my toes, it would have meant spinal cord damage, which I may have lost permanent mobility, which would have been scary. Luckily, I did not. I mean, my pinky finger might not be able to bend 100% of the way ever again, but most of the way, 98, so it's fine. It really got me thinking just because before this, I was taking like 14 supplements a day. I was weightlifting like 5 times a week. I'm extremely active. I surf all summer. I ski all winter. I hike. I do all of this stuff.
I remember we were hip hop dance pals, and you would also be like, and at the gym and this and that.
Well, we are both comedians and people about town, but we met in dance class.
We met in hip hop dance class, and we're really good.
Yes, we are really, really good. I wouldn't say we're really good, but we're okay.
We're okay.
We're middle of the pack.
I think so.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that.
I love doing dance. And hey, for your listeners, they did a study, and dance is the best physical exercise you can do for depression.
I believe that too.
And so I actually have like 200,000 little facts like that, because all day I'm like, well, what's the best exercise you can do for depression? Oh, and what do you need to do to stay muscular until you're 60? And what about this? And it is all of my spare time.
And this was pre-accident.
Pre-accident.
Yeah.
Completely. So post-accident, of course, there was, I'm in therapy like we all are, which is great. So there's been a lot of dealing with not being able to do all of the things that I once was doing. Mm-hmm. But I've been handling it okay. I've been getting more active again. I did a little hike this weekend, which was great.
That is exciting.
But it really made me reflect on the fact that this was like hyper-focus for me. Absolutely. And it probably will continue to be, because I find this sort of thing fascinating.
Yeah, I do too. I'm like similar and not as extreme as you. And I think when I was younger, I did have like a lot of disordered ways of thinking about it. And now it's not that at all. But I'm still always very much like, what's going on with me? How can I fix it? How can I improve it? What's this or that? Like a lot of people just ignore, like they're like, I haven't been to the doctor or the dentist in years. And I'm like, I love going to the doctor. Take my blood. Tell me what's up.
Absolutely. Some people will be like, oh, yeah, my knee hurts every time I walk in it, but I'm not going to the doctor. Whereas for me, I was like, I feel like I'm only gaining muscle 75% as quickly as I could. So I need to do research and go to the doctor and be like, what do you think? And they'll be like, yeah, probably. Keep doing what you're doing. And this topic can really set me off. If anyone in my presence says anything about like doing cardio because they want to lose weight and that's how they want to be healthy, I get activated and have to talk to them for 30 minutes about why actually they need to be building muscle and it's the best thing they can do for their lives. You'll never get old if you're strong. But that's the problem. This is also born out of anxiety of aging, because I want to be young and strong and able to do anything I want to do for my entire life. So this is also definitely a coping mechanism where I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to think about it as long as I'm absolutely completely yoked. Then nothing bad could ever happen to me.
You're kind of like a soft version of that dad that takes his kid's blood, that millionaire that's trying to like never die. Well, that dad like is just having a midlife crisis essentially.
Well, yeah.
And he was a Mormon and then stopped being a Mormon, and it almost just feels like a new religion for him.
Yeah, and I would say, honestly, fitness is my religion. It makes me feel like I have control. It gives me something to work toward. And also, it feels like a source of truth. I feel like you and I believe we're exactly the same age.
Pretty close, yeah.
To the day. And I feel like we grew up in a time where it was the biggest time for health and nutrition myths.
But yeah, I was about to put quotation marks up because yes, health and nutrition, quote unquote, like really bad advice.
Yes, very bad advice, and just directly in the face of science, like, milk for calcium. Fat is not bad for you.
Oh, I was terrified of fat. I used to, like in high school, I did Weight Watchers.
In high school? That's a horrible sentence.
And I did not need to do it. I convinced my mom to sign me up because on Weight Watchers, I never ate produce because an avocado or a banana or something with more fat in it would be more points. So I would just eat a 1 point frozen fudge pop with like 1,000 chemicals. And, like I just ate so shitty because all of the like actual good nutritious foods for you were too high of points because of the fat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but there's good fat. I get
No,
yes,
exactly.
yeah.
Actually, hilariously, something so illuminating for me came from The Kardashians, which I used to watch with my straight friends as a comfort show. We're from Calabasas, California, where they are from. So it's really fun for us to watch. And they were kooky. But one time, one of them, maybe Chloe, was on a diet, and they were discussing the fat content of an avocado. And Chris said, nobody ever got fat eating avocados. As silly and fun of a soundbite as that is, it's like, you can have as much produce and healthy food as you want, and you shouldn't restrict your eating. And we had all of these strange rules growing up in the 90s. All of this like low-fat, high-sugar stuff. But not to get too deep into like food talk, because then I start sounding disordered again.
Well, okay, so then having your accident, did that like reframe your mindset of kind of, sure, you can do all these things for preparation, but still something can just happen that's out of your control? And
oh, absolutely, yes. It kind of had two opposing effects. One, absolutely, I'm like, well, as soon as I'm done with all of my recovery, I'm gonna go 8 times harder, so that this, and a lot of the nurses and doctors were like, it's a good thing that you were quite muscular and had the padding there, because the same accident to somebody older or weaker, less in shape, could have killed them. It would have been crazy. Wow. So I feel great about that. On the other hand, it actually has, after a bit of processing, reduced my anxiety about my health and my body. Because things do happen that are completely out of your control, but also it all comes out in the wash. The doctors and the nurses were so unbothered by all of these very microscopic concerns that I had. And there was a lot of advice of like, you just need to listen to your body and how you feel. And that is making me, it's in the grand scheme of things, like I'm alive and I can walk. And so maybe I'm only building muscle 90% as fast as I could because of the foods I'm eating or the hormone profile I have or what have you. But it's amazing to be, I hope to keep that perspective forever. I hope to wake up grateful to walk for the rest of my life.
No, I know exactly how you feel. And I was actually thinking about this the other day because I think you knew about this. Like I was on crutches for a year. It goes all the way back to like being born with a club foot and then issues of that I've had my entire life. So I've had, I think, at least 12 surgeries. I've kind of lost count.
Wow, I didn't know that.
In the past, because I had a bunch of knee surgeries in like middle school, high school, and I was so over it that I ignored it kind of. I didn't do the healing. Well, I had a surgery once. It was an outpatient surgery for my knee, and I came home, napped a little, and then went to the cast party of the musical I was in that night with my crutches after like anesthesia, everything. I shouldn't have gone to this party, but I was so like, I don't want to deal with it. I just want to like go live my life. And then when I got older, I had a botched limb lengthening surgery, and that then had to get fixed by a better doctor. And I was on crutches for a whole year. I couldn't walk. And so that forced me to slow down and really reflect on like everything. And I could not hide from it. Could not ignore it. I had to just like deal with it. For like a while after that, I was just thrilled to walk. I was like, life is fabulous. I love walk. I can walk to the subway. I can take the train. And then you forget. You jump back into your old lifestyle. And I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I should be happy to walk right now.
It's a good perspective to have. I feel like there are, and here's a little bit of therapy talk to sort of mesh it all together. Anxiety is something that often masks true emotions outside of like a generalized anxiety disorder. But if a lot of the time you are anxious because you're being avoidant when you actually might feel sad or angry, but it's easier to just be worked up about it rather than sit in that.
And I love that.
Yeah, it's
that's great.
Been really helpful. Shout out to my therapist, Karen. You ate with that one.
Yeah, Karen, you ate.
They used a metaphor that it is a lot longer to go around a gross patch of mud and, cling to the side of a wall, try to avoid it narrowly, and you could just walk through the muck and you'll get dirty, but you'll come out the other side a lot faster. Anxiety is sort of you taking an extra 10 miles around just to avoid the thing. But our decisions are emotional. And when you make decisions out of anxiety, you kind of get things like, I'm tired of being bedridden or on my crutches for so long, and I just want to get out, and I'm just going to ignore that I just had surgery, and I'm going to go do this. But if you're making a decision from a place of sadness or grief, like I want to be able to walk, I want to be able to do these things, you can still challenge yourself, but I have a feeling you might lean more toward healthier decision making, like, maybe I can't do X, Y, or Z, but maybe I can swim. Maybe I can devote myself to this recovery. Maybe I can't do what I want to do right now, and that sucks. But it's also okay for me to feel like I want to get back out there and take steps toward it.
I love all of that.
Thank you.
I love, and your therapist. Was that your therapist too, or was that you?
That was a little bit of editorializing.
A little bit of both.
but mostly my therapist, Karen.
For me, I got really comfortable, or not really comfortable, but I got used to the idea of doing nothing and being okay with that. And being like, I am still of value, even though I'm not out doing XYZ. And I couldn't work, any of these things. I was like, I sit in my apartment and I read books and I watch TV and I just I'm just here and I exist and I'm healing, and being okay with just that was hard at first. And then I really leaned in, and now I don't ever want to work again.
Nobody does.
It's like the opposite. Yeah, but I am not as go as I used to be.
Yeah, I mean, and it all comes back to listen to your body. And I always thought I was, I always thought I was like, oh, I want to get so strong. But sometimes you have to listen to your body when it's saying things that you don't want to hear. And I make a lot of decisions that are not the most responsible with my body. But if you just sit with it, sometimes it's uncomfortable, but you'll make a good decision in the end. Annoying.
It is annoying.
People, have been so nice and being like, how are you doing? And I am happy to talk about it, and I really appreciate their concern, but I can't say the same thing every damn time. So sometimes I go with a joke answer. My favorite one is they'll be like, how are you doing? You look great. And I'll be like, yeah, I look better than you, idiot. I love to tell them I'm doing with a broken back twice as good as they ever have. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, no, that's great. It is. That question gets old, I think, where it's just, how's it going? You're like, I'm recovering.
Yeah, but it's also understandable that they're curious. They want to know, and they care.
It's not on them. It's just sort of and then that becomes kind of the main thing to talk about. Like, when I was on crutches for a year, people just they just saw me as always on crutches. I'm like, okay, there's more to me than that, but yeah.
I don't know about you. I bet you did. I got really good at telling the story because I completely appreciate the concern, understand the curiosity, and so I feel like we have to talk about it once, because I was completely bedridden for 2 months.
Yeah.
So it was a while since a lot of people saw me. So I have this story, really condensed, really easy to tell.
Type 5.
Yes, type 5, exactly. Yeah, I've got 2 little jokes in there, of course. So I give them the story at light speed. They ask 2 questions, and then we gotta get to move on from it.
Yeah, system. Yeah. When did the accident happen?
February, very beginning of February. So now we're a little bit over 3 months. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm impressed with how it's going. Yeah.
Thank you. I well, luckily I didn't put my arm down and shatter an arm or anything. All of my breaks were really very simple breaks because, not to talk myself up, but because there was a lot of muscle padding on them. People are going to be listening to this podcast and be like, let me look this guy up, expecting me to look huge, and then I'm just normal. But I highly recommend people build muscle. It will keep you safe in a terrible accident like this, and it can compensate for things. And my biggest anxiety in all of this was I was going to lose all of my muscle, but you don't really lose it that quickly. You don't lose it within 3 months. You keep a lot of that strength, and so it kind of supports my original anxiety, unfortunately, which is if I just get really, really strong, I'll be in good shape for the rest of my life. And it's so important to build that habit early, young. Just get started now. It's not too late. Just get started now.
Like investing.
Like investing. Let's open in the investments section of the pod. Let's get into it.
Oh, the housing lottery?
Oh, no. I meant let's get into stock talk.
I was like, how does that work with investments? I don't have any, which is why I qualify for the housing lottery.
I think you need the stock talk portion, the segment on the podcast every week.
Oh, see, but I don't know anything about stocks.
Well, yeah, we'll have to get an expert in here.
I'm going to have to get an expert, someone who's hyper-focuses stocks all the time.
And listen, that absolutely is hyperfixation. A lot of men have. Ooh, you know what my favorite hyperfixation is? And it's really hot to me? Park ranger. Park ranger.
Like as an occupation?
Yeah, or just avid hiker with a great personality. There are these men. They love to hike. They're very sweet. They love conservation. And you can tell, maybe they're just a little neurodivergent about it. I was on a small hike this weekend, and a park ranger stopped us. I thought we were in trouble at first. He had so much authority, and he was just like asking us about our day, telling us how close we were from the summit, and he walks away, and I realized I was flushed. I was like, oh my God, that man loves the trails, and he'd love me.
Wait, is that a hyperfixation or you're just into park ranger?
No, sorry, that's not my hyperfixation. They're hyper. Well, because I think to be a really avid hiker or park ranger, you kind of have to have a hyperfixation on
You do.
hiking.
You have to know like what's poisonous to eat and not, and rock types and stuff.
God, well, yeah, when I see a man who's a nerd about the outdoors, I'm like, this is really hot. And I wish Smokey the Bear was real. God damn, how much money do you think he makes?
Smokey the Bear?
Yeah, from the park department.
They can't make that much money, do they?
I feel like maybe if you're if you've been there a really long time, but also he's a bear. Does he have a social? Can he get paid?
Does he need money if he's a bear?
Well, to support me and the kids.
Oh, for you.
Obviously, yes.
I was like, for himself, he'll just go catch some fish.
Well, he can't even afford a shirt. Sad.
Mm-hmm. I had one other question, and then we'll switch over to my hyperfocus. But where were you skiing when this happened?
I won't say the name for legal reasons,
Okay.
but it was at a ski resort in New Jersey, which is not a super high quality, it like very much an East Coast mountain, not great conditions.
Okay, no, I was just curious because I'm like, is a solid sheet of ice on a ski mountain, like, could you sue?
Well, for legal reasons, I won't say if I could sue, wink, but yeah, maybe that is the one change people have asked me if I'm gonna go skiing again. Unfortunately, yes. I am a really stubborn person, and I was really comfortable with not deciding yet while I was recovering. And then I saw a TikTok of a literal Olympian, and she takes a huge jump, and then she lands terribly, breaks her leg horribly, and does all of this amazing, it's all in one TikTok, a wonderful recovery montage of her training up, and she goes to the next Olympics, and she makes the jump, and we're all cheering. And my response to seeing this professional athlete go back to work was, well, I'm not going to let her one-up me. If she is getting back to skiing, I'm getting back to skiing.
Watch me go ski.
Yeah. But so the one thing that has changed, though, is I think I probably won't ski south of Vermont or, I'll go to Colorado or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's fair.
Might have to be a little bit less skiing because it'll cost twice as much, but I think worth it to not almost die again.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful too, because it is like you've had this experience, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Or you could have that type of experience doing a different activity. Like, you don't know. So if you love skiing, you love skiing.
Yeah, and no judgment on anybody who goes through a similar experience and is like, oh, never mind, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't feel safe doing it. I definitely do have a little bit of, not necessarily post-traumatic stress disorder, but yes, post-traumatic stress about the accident. Some things remind me of it. Sometimes it's a little hard to process. But I love skiing, and I wouldn't really want something to take that away from me. Mm-hmm. I looked deep within it, and I was like, I really do like it. I'm going to go back to doing it.
No, and that's a good thing to learn about yourself. Okay, are you ready to talk about the New York Housing Lottery?
Now, if there's something I'm hyperfixated on, it's real estate, honey. Let's get into it.
It's real estate. Well, okay, so the New York City Housing Lottery, again, there's other things I could have hyperfixated on, but then this, you get an email for some documents, and all of a sudden, it's all you can focus on. It's like, I got these docs in, I'm on the subreddits, I'm reading about the processes, all of it. So, for those who are not familiar, the New York Housing Lottery, I think it was started by de Blasio. He had a big housing thing, actually.
Not our worst mayor.
Not our worst.
Not our worst at all.
Which doesn't say much,
No.
but not our worst.
Honestly, in some ways, best member of a terrible club.
Yeah. He did some good. He did some. He did a rent freeze.
Doing some good things, that puts you above 99% of New York City mayors.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%. And so I applied for, like you do, just apply for a bunch of the apartments, and I applied for this one back in August, and then they reached out in January, and then I forgot about it, and then last week they reached out again. The timing would be really good. I am hot and cold on my apartment, and I needed a change, but I'm not in a position to really move. And I had settled on just renewing my lease.
And are you changing from Manhattan to Brooklyn? Or is that not part of it?
Manhattan to Manhattan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back to Harlem. Because
cool.
I lived in Harlem for 4.5 years. Now I'm technically Upper West Side and going back. So I'm familiar with the neighborhood. It's a really great area. But it's just a big question mark. And then I've been trying to not talk about it, to not jinx myself, but all I can do is talk about it because it's front and forward in my mind. And my income changed, so I switched to a different bracket. So again, you're always just like, I don't, because they check everything. They check your Venmo, they check all like your Zelle, like every transaction, everything.
By the way, the viewers, you don't want the viewers to know, but you were, making a humble salary, and now you got a job where you're making $3 million a year.
I'm making $3 million a year, and I still qualify for the housing lottery, which some housing lotteries are like that. Like, you know, it's like, oh, you make like $200,000, you can qualify for units. And I'm like, they're fine. It shouldn't be for them, but everyone deserves affordable housing. They do. So I will say that. Like, for a while, like, my salary was so low, I like didn't qualify for anything. And then my salary increased, and then I was in this little pocket where, like, if I made a little less, I'd qualify. If I made a little more, but this little, like, gap, I don't. So it's just you just have to see, like, what works for you. So then, like, last week at, like, 10:30 p.m., they asked for, like, my rental history, like, my lease. And I'm, like, up until, I'm, like, scanning documents, like, sending them all this stuff. But then, like, the portal isn't built great. So I'm, like, did my documents load? It says they did. And then you email someone, like, did you get my documents? And it's the whole thing. And now I have another update because I viewed the unit today.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So not that I was disappointed in the unit, it just wasn't what I expected.
Oh, okay.
Because I typed in the address. I thought it was this building where they took a few, like, some of the units for the housing lottery, and then the rest, like, anyone can rent. Right. And this building is like a luxury building with this giant roof deck and a gym and a sauna and a kid's playroom and all this stuff. Every unit has like a balcony. And so I walk into that building and they're like, oh, it's next door. And I was like, well, okay. So I go next door and it's like the same building, like the buildings are next to each other, but I think that's just the housing lottery building.
Okay.
So
they found a way to abuse the policies.
Yeah, I was
which
like,
are not, by the way, that good in the beginning.
No.
Because you get a huge tax break building your building for having a certain percentage of housing lottery units. But then you only need to keep them for housing lottery for a certain number of years. So eventually you just have all of these luxury amazing units.
Right, that you can just like keep
jacking
up the price. Yeah. So this is a separate building for us, like, poor people.
Oh, geez.
And then, like, the rich people are next door with balconies and we don't get balconies. Not to say it's still like a new nice building.
Sure.
And I also qualify, I think, for a studio and a one bedroom.
Ooh.
And so I show up. They're in disarray. I mean, the whole process is they're all in disarray. Yesterday, I got the email to view the apartment, but the name was someone else's name. It was like, hi, someone else's name. Are you available tomorrow to view this unit? And I wrote back, hi, I'm not sure if this was meant for me. I'm Virginia, but if so, I'd love to view it. And they were like, oh, great, what time? So then I see this unit and I was like, just to clarify, is this assigned to me? Because you said someone else's name in that email. And they're like, yeah. I was like, are you sure? The broker, I guess, or whoever's showing the units was like in a million directions. So she's like, I'll let you in. You look around and I'll come back and talk to you. So she let me, and I didn't know if it was going to be a studio or a one bedroom. And I'm like praying for a one bed, obviously. And so I opened the door and I'm looking and, like, I was like, is there a door over there to another room? No, it was just, and it's still like, it's a pretty good size studio. Well, here's my issue with the studios with the new buildings is they give you normal size kitchens and normal size bathrooms and then, like, no place to live, which feels like an overcompensation from how old studios were, which is like no kitchen, like a mini fridge and a hot plate. Now it's like, we're gonna give you I'm like, I don't need a full kitchen. I can't fit a table in here. I can make Thanksgiving dinner for who?
Well, I wanted to go back and ask you about something you said on the way that kind of comes back full circle here. You said that you feel like you're gonna jinx it because you're talking about it nonstop.
Yeah.
I kind of think that that's something that neurodivergent people think about more and take more seriously for a bunch of different reasons, whether it's because their neurodivergence has something to do with unexpected situations like disappointment and it not going through being hard to navigate, or like with ADHD, there's a lot of rejection sensitivity. That was huge for me, realizing that, like, that's part of the reason I take things so hard and get
Yeah.
so sad.
Oh, me too.
But
Yeah.
so my question for you, maybe it's rhetorical, is what would it take for you to feel like you could talk as much as you actually wanted to about something without it causing you anxiety about, well, if I talk this much about it and then it doesn't work out, I'm going to think that it was because I talked about it, or I'm going to feel bad or embarrassed that I talked about it so much. What would it take for us to live in that world to sort of like, no, I want to talk about this apartment, and if I don't get it, I'll be able to handle it, and I won't be like, oh, I wish I hadn't talked about it so much.
I think it's the like handling it part. And for me, it's not just like I get this apartment, but then it's more in my head of like, well, then if I get this apartment, then I'm saving this much money, then I can go do this with this money, and I can do this, and this changes, and we'll decorate it this way. And I like build it up so much. And then if even just walking into this apartment, I'm walking in thinking I'm getting a 1-bedroom with a balcony. And a sauna building, and then I show up and I'm like disappointed because it's not what I expected. And so then I had to like reprocess that, recalibrate, be like, okay, I still do want it, but now it's different than what I thought. And so I think just when I talk about it so much, it makes it more real to me.
Yeah.
And then when it doesn't happen exactly how I think it's going to happen, because nothing does, and then I get really disappointed.
Yeah, I identify as like an anxious attachment type person. Would you say the same?
Yes.
But it's interesting. Sorry to keep parroting my amazing therapist, but this was super illuminating to me. That is a really avoidant thing to do, to be like, oh, well, I can't talk about it because I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to handle it, and being like, if this is disappointing or if it doesn't work out the way that I want, then I'm going to be upset, and I don't like being upset, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle it. But of course you can handle it. You've been upset before.
Yes.
And yeah, it takes so much energy from us to be like nervous about things and trying to avoid outcomes. I'm really envious and inspired by people who are able to just sort of like roll with the punches and adapt to that. So I've been working on that.
Oh, same. I've been also trying to work on that too. I'm just such a planner.
Yes.
Like that is something I've been telling myself a lot more recently, is when I get really anxious and worked up, to tell myself like I can handle it, because like I trust myself to handle it, and I've handled everything else that has happened to me so far. So like I can obviously handle this too, but it also would be really nice to get this apartment.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Like,
no, I'm praying for you. That housing lottery, and so you sort of have won it in a way.
but then I looked up stats for this, which are jarring, because it's like 3.5 million people apply a year, and like per unit, it's like, I think allegedly this Business Insider article was like 1 in like 450 people get considered for a unit.
Wow.
But this process feels like I'm in the running.
It's funny, housing is something that is it's the end of the world for the person going through it, but every other single person that's involved in the process, it's so much lower stakes for them.
Yeah.
From the landlord being like, oh, well, we just need somebody in this apartment because there are 200 applicants, to then, any sort of government agency being like, it's just another Tuesday at work for me.
Yeah, they're like, maybe a 1-bedroom, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you want it or not? I'm like, oh.
And for you, it's like, this is where I'm going to spend most of my time forever.
So fingers crossed, I'll keep you updated.
Yes, I really want to know.
And it would be a nice welcome change. I'm just going to roll with the punches, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And then if it's not, something else will be. Something else will be. And it finds a way to work out every time. I always tell people that also. I'm like, it's stressful and it sucks, but it does find a way to work out. So
Everything works out.
that's a great note to end on, actually, because, and it's true, it really does. Thank you so much for joining me
Thank
today.
you for
This has been
having me.
so fun. Ian Lockwood is a New York City-based comedian, and you can follow him on Instagram. We will link that in the show notes, and definitely follow to get updates on the farewell tour. More dates coming up. And if you want to give us a follow at Hyperfocus Comedy for updates on live shows and podcast episodes as well, that would be fantastic. There's also a Patreon to support. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Virginia Dickens, and this has been Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast.